this. All right, thank you everyone once again for joining. By God's grace, we will be concluding our journey on Excel today. And as many people as possible can always check on the YouTube platform for recordings, and they can catch up with those other lessons. So last week we dealt with the remaining part of the statistics we started, and that borders on outliers. So we did a few things on how to address anomalies in data, discovering anomalies through visualization, and we also try to juxtapose outliers and anomalies, what the difference are and all that. Sometimes outliers are anomalies, meaning something that is not supposed to happen. It's just the disruptions. And we'll get to know which is the case, if it is just something that shouldn't happen, or actually it's an outrageous number, but it's actually a real number or of an event that occurred. So by making further findings back to where the data started from, we will be sure of what case exactly is applicable in that situation. So for a situation where it is overly an anomaly, then we can find a way of either deleting that observation role entirely, or if it is an outlier that is significantly higher than other set of observation in context, then you want to tone it down to a particular number that is slightly higher than the highest of the other set of number. And if it is, on the other hand, an outlier that is significantly lower than others, then you also want to bring it up at least closer to the lowest of the group of numbers that are considered reasonable observation of the event under discussion. And we also undertook a couple of visualizations and how to select visualization, how to walk around these charts from the ribbon and how to pick them, then how to also make your charts look neater and finer and more presentable, showing straight away the intended information without any distraction and as neat as possible. Then today we'll just touch on the subject called VLOOKUP, which is an essential function in Excel. They use it a lot. Most analysts, data analysts, and people in accounting use VLOOKUP a lot. And even in HR, a lot of people use VLOOKUP because it saves your life. It helps you a great deal to call numbers within your fingertips in seconds. And you can bring in those numbers you have called from whatever worksheet that you are dealing with, or probably still on the worksheet, but you need that number from an existing table in that worksheet in another table. So you just query VLOOKUP and bring it out to execute the mission that you want it to execute. So we'll go straight into the practical demonstration of what we want to do about VLOOKUP. Okay, and undo this. So given this data sets, I have close to how many observations here? Number of rows can be regarded as number of observations. So this is 753, and that gives me 752 observations by the time you subtract the header. The header contains, it's also one of the rows, so but it's not part of the observation, just giving you the column headers. So we have 752. So in this kind of situation, if you probably need to call up some numbers out of here, for instance, I have this set of numbers from unit cost down to unit price, profit, cost, revenue, and this is where the figure and the money are anyway. I just want to call up some stuffs from here. We don't necessarily have to manually check through this large data set, which is even too cumbersome at the moment. And it could be more in a particular given scenario where you are having thousands or even hundreds of thousands, even running to millions sometimes of data observation sets. And that will be practically impossible for you to say you want to be approaching with any uh, manual method. So the best is to use existing functionalities that the um makers of Excel applications have put in place. But before that, before I demonstrate a couple of things on VLOOKUP, so one of the things I would quickly like to share is just a brief understanding about what VLOOKUP is and what it is actually used for. So by the time I begin to go into demonstration, then it will be easier to grasp. So VLOOKUP is named VLOOKUP, and the name came from the word vertical. It means vertical lookup. So you have got to have a table in vertical form, and it is a must. That is how it started, and it came up, or that function was imputed in Excel because there is need to automatically call out numbers by just mentioning a couple of things that are attached to that number, and you can reuse it in another space as easy as possible. For instance, I could recall I use VLOOKUP a lot in dealing with payroll and all that. So for instance, I've done the payroll for this month, then I want to do payroll for next month. And even if my staff strength has changed in the new month, meaning I will add the new entrant into the payroll. The existing bulk of payroll are people who are already existing in the organization, and I did payroll for them the previous month. So what will I do? Will I have to start typing their names all over, typing their salary all over, typing their tax and pension and all sorts of deductions that are that constitute payroll elements? No, I don't need to do that. All I need to do is to just have a fresh workbook for that particular month. I will name it salary against that month and the year, different from the previous one. And I can call all of the information that was previously in the previous month into the new one by just referencing a particular column. Even if the column are now close to 1,000 or whatever, it doesn't concern. So I just can quickly duplicate the workbook, then I can call out those pay into the new one and bring it out with VLOOKUP. And I can do that. I can repeat it as much as possible in that new workbook, referencing the previous workbook, or in a new worksheet this time around. It could be same workbook, and I can have several worksheets, each of the worksheets standing for a different month. So I can quickly call out a few things from the previous worksheet representing previous month into the new month, as long as that person's pay hasn't changed. And even if it's changed, I still need that base reference to call. Then it can do a few adjustments on the new one as time goes on. So that's one of the ways VLOOKUP comes handy. And another way is to also ensure that, for instance, I have a data set to clean. And if I have a data set to clean, I want to be sure that um, a particular or two columns I am comparing do not contain same elements, because ideally columns are representing different attributes of a data set. So no two columns must have the same attribute entry. Something is wrong somewhere, or something has been mistakenly entered somewhere. And that is why it is important to go into that particular data set again and check what could have been wrong. So those are the different uses of VLOOKUP. We will necessarily try our hands on them before the class or session ends today. Then one other important thing about VLOOKUP is that uh, you must be able to use the leftmost column. While querying out of VLOOKUP, you have to use the leftmost column as the reference point that you want to anchor that query or that code on. And as long as you have add that reference column must be at the leftmost position of the data set. So if it is not there, for instance, column M on this data set I'm saying, if my analysis or if what I need to call up into another space on this worksheet is such that I will need column M to be the reference column. And now column M is not at the leftmost position. I will need to move it from this position. I'll move it down to the leftmost because that is the only way VLOOKUP can work. It's actually a limitation because the way they program VLOOKUP code, it can only go to the leftmost column to anchor that column as the reference point. Then from that point, you will now specify a range where the data falls. And after that, you will now equally specify the column number that you want to call out into the new data set that you are intending to work on. So that is how VLOOKUP can give you accurate output. And it's a little disadvantage because you could have some things like we have it now, and my own reference column can just be this column M, which is not defaultly positioned at the leftmost point. I will now need to be moving it around or find a way of dealing with what I need to do. So because of that shortcoming, Excel later came up with what we call XLOOKUP. So XLOOKUP does not limit you any longer to have your reference column at the leftmost position. It could be in anywhere and it will still be able to stand or act as a reference column, and you'll be able to pull out any other column and put put value out of them into the new table that you want to take it into. So that's what differentiates VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. XLOOKUP, unfortunately, does not work with all versions of Excel. It was not built retrogressively. So all previous versions of Excel that existed before the creation of XLOOKUP does not work with them. It only works with Excel version from the time XLOOKUP was built upward until now. So that's also a shortcoming. So should you be trying XLOOKUP on an Excel sheet and it's not forthcoming or it's not giving you what you want, so it's probably because, or you could have even gotten an error message from Excel itself trying to tell you that the query you have entered does not work with this version of Excel, and you may need to probably upgrade that Excel to the latest one such that it can now work with XLOOKUP. Then one other thing I would like to bring to our knowledge is for VLOOKUP, after writing the query, you first write the reference column, which is the cell in that column, then specify the range of the data from the beginning of the highlighted or the intended data to the end of it, which will include both the rows and the column. Then after specifying that, then you pick in which column do you now want Excel to pull value out for you, which is the focal point of the VLOOKUP itself. Then after that, you close, then introduce a a name called or a code sort of called false, because by default Excel pulls out outcome for you in an estimated format. It does not give you exact. Yes, we call it approximated. Yes. So Excel pulls out the results, the exact result you're looking for. It pulls out for you, but it will approximate it. That is the default setting for VLOOKUP. But if you don't want it to approximate the value you want it to pull out at the end of the day, then you will include that code word called false, meaning that don't pull out approximated value, meaning that approximated value is false here. What you are trying to tell it is that give me the value exactly as it is appearing on the table you are querying from. So one has to consciously put false in that query code for VLOOKUP, because by default, VLOOKUP was programmed, or the code was written, to pull out a value in approximated format. So you will not, you don't want approximated format, you want exact format. So by the time XLOOKUP was now built, XLOOKUP now corrected that. So XLOOKUP, instead of having a default approximated value being pulled out, XLOOKUP rather pulled out exact value, just like a correction of the couple of issues that was found to be with VLOOKUP. Number one was that VLOOKUP deals with the leftmost column. XLOOKUP came up to correct that. You can use any column to be your reference point. Number two is that VLOOKUP gives you a final output of the value you want to call out, or the value you are looking up and you want to call out. It gives you that value in approximated format, but XLOOKUP gives you that value in an exact way it is without approximating. So XLOOKUP corrected those two fundamental shortcomings that were found to be with VLOOKUP. So just take note. So let's see how we deal with this. So we can say, for instance, here is U3. So I can say, what is the reference point now? So that is sales order. Can I copy this? Just copy that name. Maybe I should just put it in U3. So I have sales order that equals to this. What else do I want to do? I can say products. Products should also come this way. I put it here. So this can go back here, equals to, then what other thing do I want to do? Okay, I can pull out other quantity. So other quantity also come here. So I can also put it this way. So I can choose to have these guys this way. Then I now need to pull out a few things concerning this. So I will write my VLOOKUP query now. And in writing VLOOKUP query, just like we normally do, you have to put equal to sign Then you write your VLOOKUP. It's already giving you a suggestion already. Then you open parentheses or left parentheses. And by doing left parentheses, I can say that pick a value for me, and that value is in V3. You can see it has highlighted V3. So pick that value in V3 and let it be from V3. Where is V3? I want to tell it that, okay, pick that value from victory. Then when you pick the value from victory, go straight to a table. So I need to now specify the table range. You can see now, it's already giving me the query breakdown, the VLOOKUP function, then the lookup value. So V3 is my lookup value now. I'm telling Excel that the lookup value, go to V3 and pick it. And it has already highlighted that victory. It's looking inside it to pick value, even though I have not put any value there. But because that is what I have written, Excel is so smart and intelligent, it goes straight to that particular place I have specified. And that is why you remember we dealt with this from the beginning when we started from scratch, dealing with just Excel worksheet. All these cells, we have the active cell. Excel knows what you want to do with them. So we have specified the position where the lookup value should be picked, and it has highlighted it. In this case, the position is at V3. So it goes to that victory to look for that value, even though for now I have not put any value there, but let's go ahead with the code writing. So VLOOKUP, left parentheses, specify the position for the lookup value. Next, I've put comma because you have to put comma there. The next is the table array. After picking up the lookup value, you now want it to go and look that value in a particular table. Then you need to tell Excel where the table is and what is the table dimension. So here it is called table array. So we go ahead and specify the table array. So in this case, the table array is, let's say A2 to, where does this table column end? X, that is X. Now you now need to check to the range of this X. That was why I checked when we started, and it is 753. So I will need to put it there now. X 753. You can see Excel has highlighted the entire table based on that table array dimension I just gave. So I put a comma again. So after you have looked up that value you pick from victory in this table, now I want you to now go to a corresponding column in this same table array and return that value for me. So I need to specify which column will it now go to pick the new value. Pick a particular value, go to a particular table. Now that you have landed on that table, you have picked this value, look through the horizontal line of that particular value row and navigate to a particular column. Now I need to specify the column where you will get it. Because I've already written out what I want to pull out here is product. I wrote product. So I will now need to check what is the column where I have product. You can see the column I have product is M. I will now count the column number for him. Now, those columns are by default depicted alphabetically in Excel. But in this formula or function, you have to convert the the letter number in the alphabet into number. So how do we find M? A to J is 10. J, L, I, J, K. So K, L, M. So it means M will be in number 13 of the alphabet. So you put 13 here, Excel picks it, then you put comma. So you don't want it to give you approximated value. You want it to give you exact value. Then you go ahead and now say false. Meaning that false means approximated value is false. Rather give me exact value. If you do not put false, and you don't put anything, it will by default give you approximated value, but you don't want that. That's why you put false. Then you close the parentheses and put enter. Now, it's giving us not applicable. Why? Because the lookup value I told it to pick, instead of me picking the lookup value here on the leftmost column, which is column A, which is any of these sales order number, I didn't. I rather quoted another place, which I can be putting the sales order numbers. I just want to make it like a model. So I can put any sales order number here, and the value of the product it will bring to me will change based on that sales order number, because that sales order number is a unique value. So I could have straight away just put A2 in that place, but I want to be able to change it and maneuver it easily. So that's why I made it in model form like this. So I can easily slot in another order number value in there and it will give me the result. But because this position where my order number is, I have not put anything here. So Excel was unable to execute that function correctly. So it says not applicable, you couldn't find it. So what can I do? We need to place one order number here. So we can just come here and check any existing order number. That's love. So I can just pick this guy, this order number, the very first one, just pick it, copy, then come to the extreme and put the order number here. Then I expect the product's VLOOKUP value to change and give me something value, really. So I can put this one here. I've copied the other number. Can you see? So I'm copying the other number and putting it there. That VLOOKUP function works straight away. So it's telling me that the product that has this order number is Road 550W yellow 40. Can you see that? That is the product. If I also now want to check how many quantity of the products has been sold, right? So I'll just go ahead and bring down this. After bringing down this, then I want it to go to order quantity. So what is the number of order quantity column? The one we did for product was 13. Order quantity is the next one. Then that will be 14. So I will just come here and change 13 to 14. Press enter. So if we look up, yes. So I'll change 13 to 14. That will be it. Then this guy needs to remain himself as V3 because he's still supposed to be quoting from that sales order number, which is the reference column. Then it must give me the order quantity now as it is. V3, A3 to, oh, okay. It's now changing the table. So I need to lock up my table. Initially is A2 to this. Then I need to lock up the table here. Maybe I should lock it up right here first. So the table will not change. Lock, 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 lock. So I have locked it now and the value is turning out. So this one, you don't need to change. This one is supposed to be 13. Yep. This is what I want to achieve and we've achieved it. So it's showing to me the order quantity for that particular sales order number and the product. and it's telling me that the other quantity is 3. The name of the product is this. I do not need to go and check all the tables. By just writing that formula, it will bring it to me anywhere I am, and I'm very sure it is accurate. Now let's check for uh, the V3. Yes, V3. Let's check the other quantity. Other quantity is here. Can you see? Right here on the table itself. This is other quantity for victory and history. Then what is the name of the product? It's just by the side. That is exactly how it pulls it out here for you to see. So if I want to just use this particular column for product alone, I want all the products to be called out down here. So all I need to do is just to change this header and put product hub and just drag down the whole number. Or if all I need to do is just to get the other number, I'll just bring the other number here and equally drag it down. Then it will feature out the whole of the things I need to pull up there so easily without anything. But for instance, if you recall earlier, before I change those values, it was first showing NA, which is not applicable or whatever. So sometimes you may choose to just boycott the not applicable from appearing as an error. So you can just add extra attachments to the code that will not make the final result to appear as error, even if there is nothing available in that particular place. How do I mean? For instance, if I do not put this sales order number there yet, I just remove it. It goes back to an error. I want this model to be more responsive and more intelligent, such that when it sees an error in form of NA, I want it to talk back to me and says, I cannot find it. So I can just rewrite the code. For instance, I'll just come here, add a little layer to the code. I can just say, comma here, left inverted comma, right inverted comma. Inside it, just give me not found if you do not find anything. Then I will now introduce at the beginning of the formula extra layer of code that's okay. If NA open left parenthesis, and I come back here, introduce right parenthesis to close the argument correctly, then I press enter. Can you see now that instead of having NA, I have further given extra layer of instruction to the code that let's talk normal. Let's everything be neat and fine. If you do not see something, talk back to me that you do not see. So I will see not found. This is neater and better to be seen than just seeing this error message, hashtag, NA, and all that. So, and same thing goes here too. Can I just drag this down? Yep. That is how intelligent you can make your Excel to be as much as possible. So from the error message display, I now have it telling me not found. And if I now put figure here inside the sales order value space by coming here to copy a particular order number, I've used the A2 value before. I can use any other value. So I just come here to copy, then move down to where I need it right here, and I paste it here. So I expect the not found to change to a value since I am now putting value in victory. Can you see? It's now giving me value for V3. Then I expect it to also give me value for other quantity. Why is other quantity not having value? Let's check. So you should come to 14. If now VLOOKUP, yes, Go and query from V3. Correct. So let's see if this value it has brought out is correct. So where did I copy it from? 261277. Let's see what roll is that. 261677. 261277. 261277. Yep. So we can see 261277, which is this. So let's now check this column to verify the quantity. Can you see? The quantity now for that roll is 1, and the product name is Mountain 200 Silver 38. Let's see what VLOOKUP pull out. Mountain 200 Silver 38, then other quantity is 1. Very accurate and correct. So that is as much as possible you can get from VLOOKUP. It can help you drag those stuffs down that way without any issue. Then in a similar way, I can just, let me do the drag down. Oh, so I can just choose to say, okay, here I need you to give me a VLOOKUP of VLOOKUP. I want to open. Okay, which of the value can I quote now? Let me quote this guy, 000. Yep. Let me check the very first one. And maybe, okay, 000261273, 261273, 261273. So what is the range? Give me from A2 to X 752, A2 to X 753. Okay. Yep. What do I want it to pull out? Which column? Okay, we have done profit. Can we do cost? That is R. What number is R? IJ KLMNOPQR. That's 8. 8 plus 10, that's 18. So I can put 18 here, then comma, then I will say false. Then I'll close my parentheses, and I'll close it this way. So why is it telling me is false? Why? You can see I wrote 000261273, but Excel is recognizing it as 261273. It has removed the 3 000, so it couldn't locate the reference point, and it's because of the zeros. So I'll do something that will make it recognize the zeros now. Let me introduce just, let me introduce, yes, just this guy, and put the 000 now. I expect it to be able to identify what happened. This space again. Okay, let me change this. Provide that the name. Okay. So let me put A2. Yeah, it recognizes the reference name as 8282. So I've used 82 instead of the value that is there. So as it is now, if I now flash fill down, I expect it to go down straight to the entire down to the last item on. You can see it's about 753. As long as I flash fill that way down to that number, it will call up their corresponding number accurately for me that way. There you go. That is the power of VLOOKUP. All this number you pulled out for me in column U are exactly what is in column now, in column R. Can you see? 2139, 2139. Let me just do it this way. See, 2139, 2139, 1426, 26, 4026, 4026, 4026, 4026, 713, 713. That's how it calls all of them out down to the very last one. So even if they runs into 1,000 tables or 10,000 table, this is how Excel will run it based on that simple line of code that I have just entered, and it's just pulling it out that way accurately. And that is the beauty of VLOOKUP for you. Is there any question, or you want me to demonstrate how it works? You can let me know, please. So, uh, the VLOOKUP is about the last thing we want to do in Excel, and after which we now move to SQL. So, come next session, we are dealing with SQL based on our timetable. Yes, so we are completely done with Module 5 by the use of this, by dealing with VLOOKUP. That's the last item in Module 5. The Module 6 SQL begins. So we start writing simple codes to address database. Of course, we start with the database interface itself first. That is after successfully installing SQL application. So it could be an Oracle database we will install and be able to use SQL functionalities with it. So any question, any clarification on VLOOKUP? If there is none, then we have successfully completed today's session with VLOOKUP, and that's sort of wraps up all of our planned sessions for Excel. Thereafter, come next session, we are moving to the use of relational database and SQL. So if there is no question, then thank you once again for joining. We will catch up next session when we start uh, the use of Excel. Is there any question here? Okay, question says, can you reduce how can you redo how you lock the query? Or do you understand it now? I can go ahead and redo that. Yes, Abiodun. Okay, you want me to redo? Let's quickly do that then. Where is it now? Okay. So this goes back to when we're dealing with uh, absolute referencing and the other one that is adjustable. So when you want to do absolute reference, because Excel is dynamic, when you put a formula in a particular cell, the formula will take the names of the cell you have put that particular formula in. But the moment you copy the formula to another cell without locking it, Excel will change it to assume the name of the new cell you are putting it. And that is the reason for locking. So when you want to lock, you lock using dollar sign. So you use dollar sign, like as you can see here, I use dollar sign to lock this guy. This is the guy I'm talking about here. That one is. So I use the dollar sign here. Can you see the reference place I want you to go is table A2 to table X753. Clear this for me. So where is the table now? Let me reduce the size a bit. So the reference name or the array, table array dimension is, you can see A2. The value starts from A2, even though it has header in A1. So table A2, this is where the table begins from, down to X753. This is X. So down to the last row. That's how tables are always named. And I have already called out that table in this formula. So that's why it gave me that value. So to now lock it, you lock both the row and the column dimension, which I've done here. So in locking it, you introduce dollar sign. So long it's an absolute table that should not change, you can lock it this way as it is put here. And in locking, for instance, A2 means cell A2. Sometimes some people only introduce or apply the dollar sign to the column alone, and not the row, because A2 means column A, row 2. So I prefer introducing or applying the $ to both the column identifier and the row identifier. So I'm sure that cell is completely identified. So start from that cell A2 using that particular cell name, which is A2, then lock it. So I lock both the column and the row that is constituting the name of that cell. Then I also lock the column and the row number of the last cell in the table. In this case, the last cell is X753. So I told Excel to start from A2 and move as far as X753. So the entire table is referenced. And inside that entire table, Excel has been told to pick a particular value. In this case now, because of where I pick it from, it's picking X3. So X now is column X row 3. So it's picking from there and picking it in that row, in that table range, and going ahead to look for column 13 and return the value in column 13 against the same line of row of the X3 that was initially queried out. So that is how to lock it. So if you do not lock it that way, it will not give you what you want. For instance, I want to copy it out from here. I want to put it in the neighboring family. So I've put it out. So let me remove the $ here, $ here, $ here, $ here, enter. So can you see now? It's giving me not found for both of them. And the reason is because I have told the formula what to do when it has an error. It's actually an error. So if I remove the layer of the extra information and I remove this final parentheses, then I also go ahead to remove this one. I press enter. It will give me NA, which was the original error that we had. So if I drag this one also down now to repeat the same error because I am not locking it any longer. So, and it's also doing that because I copy it in column Y. Just because of that, it is now it is now changing the cell name into the name of the new column I copy it. See, this is column Y. It's giving me Y3, whereas I was not asking it to do anything in Y3. But because I copied it to column Y, and because I did not lock it, if I had locked it, it will remain that particular value. Same thing here. This one is also assuming column X because it is now in X, whereas it's not supposed to be column X. It's not supposed to be S3. We actually use V3 originally. Okay, I can change that one to X3 just to avoid the error it was making with the 000. So let's leave that one in X. That one can remain itself, and it is. So this is what happens here. If you do not lock it, it changes it straight to what the name of the new column is. But if you go ahead to lock it now, then it can give you what you need. So in this case, what I want it to look for is go to V3. V3, remove y. What else you need to remove there? 754, 13. Yes, V3, 82 to 13. What is number 13? 11, 12, 13. Okay. Then give us that value. You should be able to pull it out at any point in time. V3, A2 to this, then 13, then look. So if I choose to now lock it, let's see what is bringing out for us. Lock with dollar sign, A, lock with dollar sign, 2, X753, lock with dollar sign, lock with dollar sign. Yes, then go to, yep. So what is happening is, yep. So the other one too can be locked with dollar sign. 13 comma. Okay, maybe it also needs some breathing space because the formula is correct and the arguments are correct. Arguments are correct. So it's expected to be able to bring out the answer. VLOOKUP, V3, A2, this X73. Yep. So let's see the second one. So, oh, okay. I can see the value now. I have included extra columns in some places. So it has shifted the reference point for them. So the value is no longer in V3. The value is now in X3. That's why it didn't have that stuff. So this one should go back to S3. Good. So the answer will come. That's the answer. Then this one also should go back to X3 because it has moved from that side. So X3, that's the answer. So that's what to do to move around. Either you are locking the exact value. So it wasn't locked originally, so it has already changed to the value of where it is. So if I had locked it, so I could have also locked X3 here. By the time I move it to this next one, it will assume that same X3, and the value inside X3 is what it will query and work on. Yep, that is that, and that's how to do with any other question. Okay, yeah, we can take up XLOOKUP. Maybe we just take XLOOKUP briefly by next class. So that one is as good as VLOOKUP, only that the challenges associated with VLOOKUP has already been corrected in XLOOKUP. So we are already on the 61st minute now. That's over the section for today. So we'll briefly brush over XLOOKUP next class next session if we are sure we can still have enough time to do introduction to SQL, then we can figure that out. Thank you once again for your time. See you next session and get ready for relational database and SQL. Bye for now and have a great week ahead.